I heard my mother-in-law's champagne flute hit the marble floor before I heard my husband say the words. "I want a divorce, Carla." The restaurant went silent. Not the whole restaurant, just our private dining room, the one his parents had reserved for their annual Christmas Eve dinner. 23 people. His entire family. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even his grandmother in her wheelchair at the head of the table. All of them staring at me. My fork was still in my hand. I'd been cutting into prime rib. The knife was pressed against the porcelain plate, and I remember thinking how strange it was that I could hear that tiny scraping sound over the pounding in my ears. "What?" I whispered. Derek didn't even look at me. He was looking at his father, Robert, who sat across the table with his arms crossed and the smallest smile on his face. "You heard me," Derek said. His voice was calm. "Practiced. I'm filing on Monday. My lawyer already has the papers." That's when his mother, Patricia, laughed. Not a shocked gasp. A laugh. High and bright, like he just told a joke at my expense. "Well," she said, picking up her wine glass and raising it slightly, "it's about time." And then, I swear this is true, half the table lifted their glasses too. Like a toast. Like they were celebrating. I sat there in my red dress, the one I'd spent 2 weeks' salary on because Patricia had mentioned their photographer would be taking family portraits that night, and I watched my marriage end to applause. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next, nobody saw coming. Let me back up. My name is Carla Brennan. Well, it was Carla Mitchell for 6 years. But we'll get to that. I met Derek at a hospital fundraiser in Austin, Texas, 7 years ago. I was a nurse in the working double shifts to pay off my student loans. He was a consultant for his father's firm, something vague involving acquisitions and corporate restructuring. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my car. He was handsome. Charming. He bought me a drink and asked about my work like he actually cared. By the end of the night, he'd asked for my number. By the end of the month, we were dating. By the end of the year, he'd proposed. I should have known something was wrong when his mother cried at our engagement party, and not happy tears. Patricia came from old Austin money. The kind of family that had streets named after them. Robert had built a commercial real estate empire that stretched across Texas. They lived in a gated estate in Westlake Hills with a circular driveway and a fountain out front. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Round Rock with my mom, who worked checkout at a grocery store. "She's sweet," I once overheard Patricia say to Derek's aunt at our rehearsal dinner. "But darling, she doesn't even know which fork to use." Derek told me I'd misheard. That his mother adored me. That I was being too sensitive. For 6 years, I tried to be enough. I smiled at every family dinner where they talked about vacation homes and country clubs I'd never seen. I learned to dress the way Patricia suggested. I quit my job at the when Derek said it embarrassed him to have a wife who came home smelling like antiseptic. I became small. Quiet. Grateful. And still, they looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of their shoe. Here's the part Derek never knew about. 3 months before that Christmas dinner, I got a call from a lawyer in Dallas. A woman named Ms. Keene with a brisk, professional voice. "Ms. Mitchell," she'd said. "I'm calling regarding the estate of Marion Brennan. My grandmother. My mom's mother. I hadn't seen her since I was 12 years old. There'd been some kind of falling out between her and my mom that I never fully understood. She'd moved to Dallas and we'd lost touch. I'm sorry to inform you that Mrs. Brennan passed away last month, Ms. Keene continued. You're listed as her sole heir. I thought it was a scam at first. But Ms. Keene sent documentation. My grandmother had been wealthy, very wealthy. She'd invested early in Texas oil and tech, and she'd never remarried after my grandfather died. No other children. No other family. Everything went to me. The number was staggering. I won't say it exactly, but let's just say it was enough to never work again. Enough to buy Patricia's house 10 times over. I didn't tell Derek right away. I wanted to process it first. Understand what it meant. Ms. Keene helped me set up accounts, trusts, investment portfolios. She introduced me to a financial advisor named Greg who talked about generational wealth and legacy planning. For the first time in my life, I had power. Real power. The kind that Patricia worshipped. And I was going to surprise Derek with it at Christmas. I'd even planned how I'd tell his parents, casually, over dessert. I'd imagined Patricia's face when she realized the girl from Round Rock was worth more than their whole family combined. But Derek filed for divorce first. Back to the restaurant. After the toast, the actual toast to my humiliation, I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. Everyone was still laughing, still talking over each other about how it was the right decision and how Derek deserved someone from a good family. Excuse me, I said quietly. Nobody heard me. Or maybe they did, and they just didn't care. I walked out of the dining room, through the main restaurant, and into the foyer. My hands were shaking. I stood there by the coat check, trying to breathe, trying not to cry in public. That's when I saw him. A waiter, tall, maybe in his 50s, with kind eyes and a white jacket. He was standing near the host stand, and he was looking at me with this expression that wasn't pity. It was recognition. Ma'am, he said gently. Are you all right? I wasn't. But I nodded anyway. I'm fine. Just needed some air. He glanced back toward the private dining rooms, then back at me. That your party in the Brazos room? I nodded again. He hesitated, then stepped closer and lowered his voice. I've worked here 15 years, he said. I've seen a lot of families like that. And I've seen a lot of people like you, good people who get chewed up by them. I blinked at him, surprised. I don't normally do this, he continued, but if you need help, real help, my daughter's a divorce attorney here in Austin. Best in the city. I can give you her card. He pulled out his wallet and handed me a business card. Jennifer Oakes, family law attorney. She doesn't lose, he said simply. Especially against families like that. I took the card. My fingers were still shaking. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded, then went back to work. And I stood there, staring at that card, feeling something shift inside me. I wasn't going to beg Derek to stay. I wasn't going to plead with Patricia to see my worth. I was going to bury them. I called Jennifer Oakes the next morning. Christmas Day. She answered on the second ring. Ms. Mitchell, she said warmly. My dad told me you might call. We met the day after Christmas at her office downtown. She was sharp, no nonsense, with a corner office that overlooked Lady Bird Lake. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she sat back and folded her hands. Let me guess, she said. He thinks you have nothing. No assets, no savings, no leverage. That's right. And he doesn't know about the inheritance. Nobody does, I said. Except my financial advisor and my grandmother's estate lawyer. Jennifer smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a chess player who just seen checkmate in 3 moves. Good, she said. Let's keep it that way. If you're loving this so far, hit that like button. You're going to want to see what happens when someone underestimates the wrong woman. Derek filed for divorce on December 27th, exactly like he'd promised. The petition arrived by courier at the apartment we'd shared, the one his parents had bought for us as a wedding gift, though the deed was only in Derek's name. He was asking for full ownership of everything. The apartment, the furniture, even my car, which he'd bought me for my birthday 2 years ago. He was offering me $5,000 and 60 days to vacate. $5,000. For 6 years of my life. Jennifer filed my response 3 days later. She didn't mention the inheritance. She didn't have to. She simply requested full financial discovery, a forensic accountant, and an equitable division of all marital assets, including any hidden accounts or income streams Derek might have failed to disclose. She also requested that Derek continue paying all marital expenses, including my housing, until the divorce was finalized. Derek's lawyer called Jennifer within an hour, furious. Jennifer put him on speaker so I could hear him sputtering about gold digging and frivolous motions. Tell your client, Jennifer said calmly, that if he'd like to avoid a very public and very expensive trial, he should come to the table with a reasonable offer. Otherwise, we'll see him in court. She hung up. Then she looked at me. Now the fun begins. The forensic accountant Jennifer hired was a woman named Dr. Patel. She had 3 monitors on her desk and a PhD in financial fraud investigation. It took her 2 weeks to find it. Derek had been hiding money. Lots of it. He'd set up an LLC in Delaware, a shell company he used to funnel income from his father's firm. He'd also opened an offshore account in the Cayman Islands and moved over $400,000 into it over the past 3 years. This is textbook asset concealment, Dr. Patel explained to me and Jennifer in her office. He was preparing for this divorce long before he filed. How long? I asked. She pulled up a spreadsheet. The first transfer was 38 months ago. Right after you quit your job at the hospital. My stomach turned. He'd been planning to leave me since the moment I'd given up my independence. Jennifer leaned forward. Can we prove it? Every transaction is documented, Dr. Patel said. Bank records, wire transfers, corporate filings. He wasn't as careful as he thought. Jennifer smiled again. That same cold, calculated smile. Perfect. Derek's deposition was scheduled for late January at Jennifer's office. I wasn't required to be there, but Jennifer invited me to watch from the conference room next door through a video feed. You should see this, she said. So I did. Derek walked in wearing a navy suit, his lawyer beside him. He looked confident. Smug, even. He sat down, folded his hands on the table, and smiled at Jennifer like she was wasting his time. Jennifer opened her folder. Mr. Mitchell, she began, can you confirm that you listed your annual income as $75,000 on your divorce petition? That's correct, Derek said smoothly. And you maintain that you have no other sources of income or assets beyond what's listed in your financial affidavit? Correct. Jennifer slid a piece of paper across the table. Can you explain this wire transfer of $50,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, dated October 14th of last year? Derek's face went pale. I don't know what that is. You don't know? Jennifer repeated. This account is registered under an LLC called Mitchell Holdings Delaware. An LLC where you're listed as the sole member and managing director. His lawyer leaned over, whispering furiously. Derek's jaw tightened. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. Jennifer didn't blink. You can do that, Mr. Mitchell. But I should warn you, invoking the Fifth in a civil proceeding allows the judge to draw negative inferences against you. It will not help your case. Derek stood up. His face was red now, angry. This is ridiculous. You're harassing me. Sit down, Mr. Mitchell, Jennifer said calmly. We have 6 hours reserved for this deposition, and we're only 12 minutes in. I watched through the screen as Derek sat back down, his hands shaking. And I smiled. 2 weeks after the deposition, Derek's lawyer called with a settlement offer. He would give me the apartment. He would give me $200,000. He would sign a non-disclosure agreement preventing either of us from discussing the divorce publicly. Jennifer called me with the offer. What do you want to do? She asked. I thought about it. About Derek's face at that Christmas dinner. About Patricia's laugh. About 6 years of being told I wasn't good enough. Counter, I said. With what? I want the apartment. I want $400,000, the full amount he hid. I want a public apology admitting to financial fraud. And I want him to pay all my legal fees. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Carla, she said carefully, a public apology is hard to enforce. Are you sure? I'm sure. Then let's do it. The mediation was held at a neutral office in downtown Austin. Derek, his lawyer, Robert, and Patricia all sat on one side of a long table. Jennifer and I sat on the other. The mediator, an older man named Mr. Harrison, read through my counteroffer. When he got to the public apology, Patricia actually laughed. That's absurd, she said. We're not doing that. Then we'll see you in court, Jennifer said simply. Robert leaned forward. You do realize, he said, addressing me directly for the first time, that dragging this out will cost you more in legal fees than you'll ever recover. I met his eyes. I'm not worried about legal fees, Robert. He frowned. Excuse me? Jennifer placed a folder on the table. She opened it to reveal a one-page summary of my financial accounts, the inheritance, the investments, the trusts. My client, Jennifer said, is worth approximately $18 million. She inherited it from her late grandmother 3 months ago. She can afford to litigate this case for the next 5 years if necessary. Can you? The room went silent. Patricia's mouth opened. Then closed. Derek stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. That's impossible, he whispered. It's documented, Jennifer said. Verified by 3 separate financial institutions. Ms. Brennan is, by any measure, wealthier than your entire family combined. I watched the color drain from Derek's face. Watched Patricia clutch her pearls, literally. Watched Robert's jaw tighten. Now, Jennifer continued, my client is offering you a generous settlement. You return what you stole, you admit what you did, and you pay her legal fees. Or we go to trial, and a judge awards her far more, plus punitive damages for fraud. The mediator cleared his throat. Mr. Mitchell? Would you like to caucus with your attorney? Derek looked at his father. Robert nodded once, stiffly. They left the room. They came back 20 minutes later. Derek's lawyer had a single sheet of paper. A revised settlement agreement. He would return the $400,000. He would pay my legal fees, which totaled just over $60,000. He would sign a statement admitting he'd concealed assets during the divorce proceedings. The only thing he wouldn't do was apologize publicly. We'll release a private statement to the court, his lawyer said. But no public apology. That's our line. I looked at Jennifer. She raised an eyebrow, asking silently what I wanted. And here's the thing, I realized I didn't need his apology. Not anymore. Because sitting across from Derek, watching him sign document after document with shaking hands, watching Patricia dab at her eyes with a tissue, watching Robert refuse to even look at me. That was better than any apology. Fine, I said. We'll take it. If this is giving you justice chills, drop a comment and let me know. Because the final reckoning? That came at the courthouse. The divorce was finalized on March 15th. We had to appear before a judge to make it official. It was a formality, the settlement had already been approved, but Texas law required us both to be present. I wore a cream pantsuit. Simple. Elegant. The kind of thing Patricia would have worn. Derek wore the same navy suit from his deposition. He looked tired. Smaller somehow. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Callahan, reviewed the settlement terms aloud. When she got to the part about Derek returning the concealed assets and paying legal fees, she looked up at him over her reading glasses. Mr. Mitchell, she said, do you understand that concealing assets in a divorce proceeding is fraud? And that under Texas law, I could refer this matter for criminal prosecution? Derek's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has fully cooperated with discovery and returned all concealed funds. We respectfully request that the court consider this matter resolved. Judge Callahan was quiet for a long moment. I'll allow it, she finally said. But let me be clear, if I ever see you in my courtroom again, Mr. Mitchell, I won't be so lenient. Yes, Your Honor, Derek mumbled. The judge signed the decree. You're divorced, she said. Good luck to you both. I walked out of that courthouse a free woman. Not just divorced, free. The weight I'd carried for 6 years, the constant need to prove myself, to shrink myself, to apologize for existing. Gone. Jennifer met me on the courthouse steps. How do you feel? She asked. I looked back at the building, where Derek was probably still inside, probably calling his parents, probably trying to explain how the girl from Round Rock had taken him apart piece by piece. I feel, I said slowly, like I just won. I moved out of the apartment Derek's parents had bought us. I didn't need it anymore. Instead, I bought a house in Terrytown, a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood just west of downtown Austin. It had a porch swing and a garden and big windows that let in the morning light. I also went back to school. I'd always wanted to be a nurse practitioner, but I'd given up that dream when Derek asked me to quit my job. Now I had the time and the resources to finish. I enrolled at UT Austin in the fall. As for Derek, I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved back in with his parents. That his father's firm was under investigation for unrelated financial irregularities. That Patricia had stopped hosting her annual Christmas party. I didn't take pleasure in their downfall. Not really. But I didn't lose sleep over it either. The waiter who'd given me Jennifer's card, his name was Mr. Oakes. I went back to that restaurant 3 months after the divorce. I asked for him specifically. When he came to my table, I handed him an envelope. Inside was a check for $20,000 and a note that said, "Thank you for seeing me." He tried to refuse it. I told him it was for his daughter's practice, for the pro bono work she did for women who couldn't afford good representation. He cried. So did I. I ran into Patricia once, about 6 months after the divorce. I was at Whole Foods in downtown Austin, buying groceries for the week. She was in the organic produce section, inspecting avocados. She saw me. I saw her see me. For a moment, I thought she might turn around, pretend she hadn't noticed. But she didn't. She walked over, slowly, her Chanel purse tucked under her arm. "Carla," she said. Her voice was different. Smaller. "Patricia." We stood there in awkward silence. Around us, shoppers pushed carts and chatted on their phones, oblivious. She started, then stopped. I wanted to say. She couldn't finish. Her eyes were glassy. "It's all right," I said quietly. "You don't have to." "He shouldn't have done that," she said finally. "At Christmas. That was wrong." It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it was something. "You're right," I said. "It was wrong." She nodded. Looked down at her hands. "You're doing well," she said. It wasn't a question. "I am." "Good." She met my eyes. "You deserve it." Then she walked away. I stood there holding a bag of apples, feeling something unexpected. Not triumph. Not vindication. Just peace. Here's what I learned. You can't make people see your worth. You can't beg them to treat you with respect. You can't shrink yourself small enough to fit into someone else's idea of acceptable. The only thing you can do is know your own value. Protect it. Honor it. For 6 years, I let Derek and his family tell me I wasn't enough. I believed them. I changed everything about myself trying to earn a place at their table. But the truth is, I never needed their table. I never needed their approval. I needed my own. When I finally stood up, when I finally said, "No more," everything changed. Not because I got revenge. Not because I destroyed them. Because I remembered who I was. The girl from Round Rock who worked double shifts. The girl who put herself through nursing school. The girl who didn't come from money or country clubs or circular driveways with fountains. That girl was enough. She always had been. If this story meant something to you, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel and share your own story in the comments. Because there's someone out there right now who needs to hear that they're enough too. That they don't have to earn love. That they don't have to shrink. It's been 2 years since that Christmas dinner. I graduated from UT's nurse practitioner program last spring. I work at a community health clinic now, treating patients who don't have insurance, who can't afford specialists, who need someone to see them. I see them. I bought my mom a house in Cedar Park. She cried when I gave her the keys. Said she'd never imagined living somewhere with a backyard. I also started a foundation, the Marion Brennan Fund for Women's Financial Independence. It provides grants and financial education to women leaving difficult marriages. Women who think they have nothing, who've been told they're worth nothing. We've helped 43 women so far. Jennifer Oakes serves on the board. So does Dr. Patel. So does Mr. Oakes's daughter. As for Derek, I don't know where he is now. I don't check his social media. I don't ask about him. He's not part of my story anymore. My story is mine. And it's just beginning. I still have it, you know. The black card. Not a credit card, though I have plenty of those now. I mean Mr. Oakes's business card. The one he handed me in that restaurant foyer while my husband's family laughed in the next room. I keep it in my wallet, tucked behind my driver's license. Sometimes, when I'm having a hard day, when a patient yells at me or I'm exhausted from studying or I catch myself falling into old patterns of self-doubt, I take it out. I look at it. And I remember. I remember that there are good people in this world. People who see you when you feel invisible. People who offer help without expecting anything in return. I remember that the worst moments of your life can become turning points if you let them. I remember that you are not defined by the people who couldn't see your worth. You are defined by what you do when you finally see it yourself. If you're watching this and you're in a relationship where you feel small, where you're constantly trying to prove yourself, where love feels like a test you keep failing, please hear me. You are enough. You are so much more than enough. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You need your own. And once you have it, once you truly believe in your own value, no one can take it from you. Not a husband. Not in-laws. Not a champagne toast in a private dining room. No one. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, leave a comment telling me your story. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember, the only person who needs to believe in you is you. I'm Carla. And I'm enough.